is that what we try to do with Coinhouse is always educate about what's the underlying value, what are the underlying use cases, and if you're investing in Bitcoin, what are you truly investing in, and how does it work?
Classical, they are Ponzi's in the sense that they had a referral scheme. So if I wanted to invest in BitConnect and I brought a friend who was going to invest in BitConnect and I dropped out of BitConnect quick enough, I technically did make money. But ultimately, the project itself was nothing. There was no actual value behind it, and people who got into it late lost a lot of money. The project itself was labeled a scam quite early on and investigated, liquefied. Likewise for the project OneCoin, which depicted itself as a blockchain or a cryptocurrency for education, although the intertwine of both aspects wasn't very clear, and it was one of the most renowned ICO scams as well. Going further, we have this chart from AMF, l'Autorité des Marchés Financiers, that shows a bit of the interest we witnessed on blockchain cryptocurrency and a bit of the results. So on the orange-yellowish chart here, you can see all the people that made appeals because they got scammed related to cryptocurrencies. So how did this happen? Basically, when you see titles like the nouveau riche of crypto, or websites that say you can become rich so quickly, a rational person who doesn't know much about it wants to invest. He wants to invest, but he doesn't know who an actor of confidence is, he doesn't know how to go about it, and he doesn't know how to verify any information. So we at Coinhouse witnessed firsthand this, because we have many people, since we were called La Maison du Bitcoin, who identified us as being the equivalent of the European Central Bank to the euro. So that shows that these people were investing into something that they did not know at all was make money. They don't know what it is, they don't look at the technical aspect, they don't look at the value, they don't look at the project, they don't even look at the platform. If you look at this platform online, most of the time they have an address that is located somewhere in the UK. Why the UK? Because it's quite simple to open a company over there. And you Google map the place, it's a tree with nothing around it. If you put Coinhouse, you'll see that we have an actual store, not very far from here actually. And as a result, we have suffered from it, because how to explain to someone that he got scammed, but Bitcoin isn't a scam? That it's unreal that you can have fake Bitcoins. He got scammed in the same sense that he can get scammed on diamonds, on Forex, on life insurance. And this has been quite difficult for us, because then Bitcoin as a whole gets a negative portrayal about the media. We had an article on the Les Echos that said, escroquerie liée au faux Bitcoin. Faux Bitcoin can't happen. As we said before, Bitcoin is unreplicable, and if we go back to the slide before, you can see some numbers here, and they're truly devastating numbers, and these numbers probably don't take into account all of the people that got scammed. Going further, what does this mean today? It means that some people are disgusted, disillusioned, and this legitimizes the critics, more serious critics, such as this man. I don't know if anybody know Ariel Rubini and his thoughts on crypto. Although he's quite simplistic about it, not very, very subjective, he's been against it for a while. All of his arguments gain traction in the eyes of the media and of the governments, because we have all these people on a line that are saying Bitcoin is a scam, cryptocurrencies are a scam, never should have gotten into it. The top 5% Bitcoin holders make money off me. And as a result, we also have the government, who this is favoring, in the sense that they're forcing platforms like us, actors like us, to be ultra compliant and making our work harder.
So, after taking into consideration the mess that this narrative of 2017 of boasting about, oh, I've made 100x, I've made 1000x on Ethereum, and actually now you've only made 10x. But what can we do to rebuild confidence? What can we do to actually talk about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general without always comparing it to the price tag? Well, we can focus on the tech, and this is clearly the most important thing right now. One of the main reasons why we could explain, no one really knows, but why the price went down so much is definitely the lack of scalability on the network. Bitcoin is today not scalable enough. Ethereum is today not scalable enough. And there's a lot of research to be done in this area. So there's a lot of solutions with the Lightning Network, with Plasma and other proposals that the Ethereum Foundation have made, but it's not yet enough. When I buy Bitcoin, we actually send the Bitcoin to the client. And it's always really interesting to see the client try to understand what is a seed, what are these 24 words, how does a wallet works. And then, we do workshops at Coinhouse trying to interact with smart contracts. So, using MetaMask, trying to interact with smart contracts, trying to set up a Ethereum known service for yourself. All these things are super complicated today and just show that we are not yet there in terms of usability of any crypto application, really. So focus on the tech. The second thing is focus on the education at multiple levels. Obviously, education with the mainstream, with retail and everybody that gets interested in that type of technology, blockchain and cryptocurrencies, but also the corporates. Many corporates still do not understand what blockchain is, what are the differences between private and public blockchains, and most importantly with journalists. We did an event last January because there was so much bad press and bad facts about Bitcoin. Bitcoin is anonymous, Bitcoin is used for drug purchases, Bitcoin is untraceable, and all these are partially false or totally false. So we actually decided to do events where we educated the journalists because they are the ones that will then educate the mass. And then the regulators also. Part of our work at Coinhouse has been to discuss with the regulators, invite them and show them how this technology works. And finally, the academics, École 42 obviously, but other schools. We recently signed a partnership with l'École Polytechnique and HEC Paris to educate the MSc entrepreneurs over there so that they could pursue a blockchain and crypto asset course. And so we did a 50-hour course with the best thinkers here in Paris about blockchain and crypto. So you have Arthur Brightman from Tezos, you have Fabrice Ouin from the Lightning Network, you have Nicolas Baca from Ledger, and all this talent needs to be teaching the next generation of protocols and of engineers. And finally, I would say the most important thing is not necessarily the tech or the education, it's what you do about it, and what value is it going to bring to the world. Why do we use Bitcoin? Why do we believe in Bitcoin? The number one use case we see at Coinhouse is obviously investment and digital gold in a way, and you can see that especially in emerging countries, so in Iran, in Venezuela, in Argentina to some extent, people buying in crypto to protect their wealth, even though it wasn't necessarily a good decision early 2018. We also see a lot of people coming for international payments. Would it be to buy t-shirts in China or to pay a supplier in Brazil? We've had people coming in buying 200,000 euros worth of Bitcoin to pay a supplier in Brazil because they didn't want to pay the fees linked to the exchange currency, the real and the euro. And finally, obviously smart contracts, there's a lot of discussion around what can we do with this, and there's some just easy wins. We like applications like the one AXA shipped, Fizzy, where it's a smart contract that will insure you against your flight delay. So you buy the insurance for €5, and if your flight is delayed by more than 3 hours, well then you get automatically compensated without having to ask any authority for that actual compensation. So, focus on this utility and usage and start building the tech from this utility. Finally, the last word is the little corporate statement. So Coinhouse, what we do is we really have three types of customers. The first type of customer is the beginner investor or the retail investor. They generally invest from €0 to €5,000. And then it goes to what we call the premium customer. This is a bit like in a private bank where you get added services. You get tailored support, exclusive content, and especially dedicated salesman who's going to help you understand and who's going to provide you support, provide support all the time. And finally, the qualified investors. So there's a whole myth around institutional investors. It is at the time of institutional investors. 2018 was supposed to be the year of institutional investors. Well, it hasn't happened, not really. But it's coming, and we do already have some corporates, we do already have...
Just a question on the last slide. Yeah, so the different services that you provide for these different types of investors, I guess you have... Just curious about your business model, and do you take a percentage on a some commission, or does it work?
Yeah, that's exactly it. We take a commission on transactions. So starting normal customers, they start at 4.9%, and then for premium customers we go down to 2%, and then for institutional investors it depends on the amounts basically, and that's we see that directly with them. Our business model is basically, if you think about the value chain of someone who's got an intent of purchase of buying crypto. Would it be an individual? Would it be a corporate? First thing he's going to do is he's going to learn about it. So he's going to learn about it online, offline, and we try to create as much content as possible so that he can discover more about crypto through us. So we have an online platform called insights.coinhouse.com. It's in French, it's in English, and we produce a lot of research on that online platform. We also do a lot of events at our space. Once he kind of understood, and that comes back to the narrative, we don't really like when people come in and just say, I want to be rich and I want to buy Bitcoin. And it's funny, but that kind of thing happens. For instance, yesterday we had someone who applied for an intern position at Coinhouse, and that person said, I don't know much about Bitcoin, but I heard it's a get rich technology, and it was a scheme, yeah. And they actually said that in their cover letter, and we're like, what? Incredible. So yeah, first thing, understanding, then investing, and then securely storing and securely putting your assets somewhere that's safe. And in that aspect, we have two solutions. The first one is the ledger analyse that we sell at Coinhouse, obviously. We used to be part of Ledger, we're not part of Ledger anymore, so we have very close ties with them. And the second solution is Coinhouse Custody Services. It's based on the Ledger Vault technology, which is a technology. And so we've set up that technology at Coinhouse, and then we sell the Vault service. It's a multi-signature wallet, and this is purely for either I would say premium customers that have a lot of money. When you want to securely store above $1 million or more, you do need extra layers of security and authorizations, and that's what we provide for these customers.
Just one more. So just to get an idea, how much do you have under custody, and how much volume have you been helping with your customers to invest? Is that like in the millions, the tens, the hundreds?
So the custody is a quite new service. It's been really implemented about a month ago. So we onboarding historical clients on it. So I don't have the actual data around this. When it comes to the volume, we did last year 57 million in volume. It's very different than a platform because we're a broker. But yeah, we did 57 million.
Questions? Okay, so I had one question. In your team, is there some of the people who are actually experienced investors? Do you invest yourself in crypto? And maybe you can tell a bit about your personal experience then.
Yeah, I think almost every single member at Coinhouse owns a bit of cryptocurrency. Even those that join in non-technical roles recently end up buying crypto because they're at Coinhouse. But we do have some very old historic investors. We have people, well, our co-founders were very early in Bitcoin in 2011, 2012. Another member of ours is one of the founders of the Ethereum community in France. So yeah, we have people that are experts in hodling, experts in altcoins, a bit less now, and experts in trading as well. Nearly everyone owns at least a bit of Bitcoin.
Yeah, and maybe you can tell just a bit about your personal experience
With Bitcoin?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, with Bitcoin and
With Coinhouse?
with investing in the cryptocurrency.
Oh. So yeah, so there's, I guess, different profiles of investors, active investors. So we have a few at Coinhouse, and then there's passive investors. I'm definitely one of those passive investors or value investors. I started investing in 2015, and I didn't really. It's been a quite an interesting experience investing in that field, and I think looking back at 2018, I did some good choices early, but I was just lucky, like most people. That's why I don't think we should boast about having done 10x, because we haven't done anything. We just invested at the right time. And then 2018 has been kind of an interesting year because obviously there was the rise of the altcoins, and so a lot of hype around lots of projects. And if you look back now, a lot of people that were investing in alternative cryptocurrencies wish they had only invested all that money in Bitcoin. So I think definitely Bitcoin and Ethereum are very interesting projects, and I would stay around this kind of project.
We actually have at Coinhouse some members of our listed a list of 20 cryptocurrencies that, according to us, have great tech and value. So if you guys want to go check that, you go on coinhouse.insights. Bitcoin, Ethereum are definitely there. Some less renowned coins like Decentraland, Augur, Gnosis. You got a bunch of them that all have great technology.
Yeah, exactly. There's a few coins. Maker is also one of them, and there's also some really cool projects like Ether that we personally know. Tezos also, it's a French project that we personally know. So the fact that there's closeness makes us more bullish on these prospects.
Any more questions? All good? Okay. One more. Okay, it will be the last question.
How prepared are you for ICO regulation around the world? Are you prepared for that?
So yeah, we are. We don't really deal with ICOs. We were there before the ICO frenzy, and ICOs are quite interesting, but there's been a lot of I guess thinking around how can we experiment with the ICO model, how can we improve it, because there's a lot of skepticism around ICOs these days. What's interesting is that regulators around the world have taken the approach of regulating ICOs before regulating cryptos, which is in a sense normal because cryptos are so much more complicated than ICOs. And we are ready for that because France has moved quickly enough, even though we're still waiting for the law to be promulgated and actually voted in the National Assembly and second lecture. But in terms of, if the question was in terms of compliance, one of the, I would say, Coinhouse vision is always to be regulatory compliant, and so even though we were not regulated and we're still not regulated, we are more than ready to be regulated, because it would be such a great sign for partners and customers alike to know that Coinhouse has a license. Sometimes we're discussing with companies abroad and they were saying, hey guys, are you regulated in France? We said, no, we're not regulated. We're not regulated because there's no regulation. Since day one, we wanted to be regulated because not Bitcoin is regulated, but just the fact that the operators and the actors in that country are regulated would provide more legitimacy also towards the financial sector. You know, if you regulate it, then you can open a bank account. If you're not, you can't. We are definitely ready, and we've been discussing with the members of parliaments in France, we've been discussing with finance minister in France, we've been discussing with the Senate and with all the different regulatory bodies, AMF, SFR, Banque de France, and ESMA also, is based in Paris. So yeah, we're ready. Bring it on.